Okay, so a relic video explaining buffs and debuffs. I'm gonna go over like notable relic attack buffs, notable relic detriments, what you can get away with, what you can't, how they impact your character and build. I'm gonna quickly cover some optimal stuff and just some other good general knowledge. So let's get into it. Okay, so for the attack buffs, important thing to note, you see that holy up +4, and you see that approved affinity attack +2. The damage difference between this is minimal. It's like 1.5 or 2%, right? And you're thinking, well, Puff, that's stupid. Why do you recommend going holy attack up on your Halo Scythe build when you can just do affinity attack? It's only like a 2% damage difference throughout a match, and you're not held to using specifically holy. The reason for that is because over a match, these relics and these numbers will get multiplied, usually 3 to 5 times. I've done 10 times, but you can 3 to 5x it, just as a general idea. And that, like, 2%, that could become 10%. And if that's on all your relics, that's 30%. So it's something really worth thinking about when you're making these builds and stuff. Like, what are you willing to risk and spec into specifically and forgo damage in certain instances and stuff? I like going specifically for it. If you watch any of my videos, you guys know that. But yeah, that's just some general attack buff information. The difference between a holy attack +4 and a holy attack +3 is also very minimal. I wouldn't make that too much of a big deal. But 2 to 3, that's the big jump. That's when you're looking at like 6.5 to 11%. It's massive. So 2 to 3 is the biggest jump. 3 to 4 is not really consequential. And then the base to +2 is also very similar. It's a 1.5% difference. For the specific spell schools, and like this, improved Giant's Flame, that's 12% extra damage on a relic. So the +4 is also a 12%. So a spell school can also be swapped with the affinity type +4. That works fine as well. Okay, improved Reaper attack power, improved any weapon attack power is a 10% damage buff. And you're thinking, well, why don't you just add that to all your relics for the Halo Scythe? Well, it doesn't work for the weapon art. It only works for the physical contact of the weapon. So something like a katana or a colossal weapon would benefit from that because you can't put a +3 or +4 on your normal relics, okay? You can only have a +2, which is 6.5. So that's like an extra 3.5% more damage if you do that. But, it holds you to only using that weapon type, where the other ones you can be a little more versatile. I don't like playing like that, and especially because of the weapon art thing. So, I don't recommend doing that. The improved attack power with 3+ weapons equipped. That's like 20% damage, I believe, which is crazy. But the reason I don't run that is because it forces you to hold specific items in your inventory that might not have the best passives, and you can benefit a lot more from passives in game versus just this relic alone. So I don't like doing stuff like that. That goes for like the seals with the max FP, that kind of thing. I just roll the dice. This holds you too much to gameplay and RNG. Things like the throwing pot damage, guard counters, attack up when facing a poison frost afflicted enemy. The base values, they're small. They're like 10% damage. The deep ones, however, the +1 and the +2, that's when stuff gets crazy. You can get like 20 to 26% more damage on those. So there's a big jump between the base version and the +1 or the +2 of their respective version. Okay, so damage negation. So the base version of the physical damage negation, not the +1 or +2, that's 10%. The +1 and the +2 goes from like 11 to 12%. Affinity damage negation, the base one I believe is only 6%, with the +1 and the +2 also being 10 and 11%. A specific affinity damage negation. Yeah, the base version, that's a 10%, with the +1 and +2 getting up to 16%. I wouldn't recommend doing that because you're going to be, you know, run into a bunch of different affinities and stuff. But if you have something for a specific Night Lord, it's not bad. Increase max HP, FP, stamina. Those are all upwards of 10%. Very, very good. The normal +3 vigor is only 60 extra vigor. So this, you know, if you have a high HP character or something like that, that's worth doing. The improved strength or dex or in or any of these character stat changes +3, that adds about 1.5% more damage to that specific attack type or like weapon scaling if you're doing something like that. So if you had like a colossal and you had like +3 strength, you're getting on average about 1.5 to 3% more damage on that. So it's nice to have on, but definitely not worth revolving a build around. Now for the debuffs. Ones I would completely avoid: continuous HP loss, reduced damage negation after evading. That's like 45% more damage if you dodge and you get hit. The reason I don't put this on the relics, even though some characters get one shot, is because throughout the day, little trash mobs and stuff, they'll one shot you and cause a lot more downs where, you know, that won't normally happen. Night Lords, it doesn't really matter if you don't have damage negation on full on like a Revenant or something, but throughout the day, this is really bad. Same with repeated evasions, and taking damage causes death buildup. That's just having a second health bar. You don't want that, especially if you're getting attacked by a bunch of little things. Near death reduces max HP. I think that's terrible because every time you go down, you basically got to re-drink a flask. Ones that are manageable, and if you're confident are worth putting on, but they're still kind of bad. Reduce rune acquisition. This doesn't hurt late game, but it hurts early game because you won't be able to level up where your team's at. So you know, the first starter camp, you won't get level 2. You might not be level 7 after beating basement, so you won't be able to wield the weapon, that kind of thing. All res down. That can hurt on specific bosses, and especially if you have taking damage causes some sort of status on your relics, that's pretty bad. Reduce flask HP restoration and ultimate art charging impaired. You just don't want 2 of them. That's like a 10 to 15% reduction on your flask, which does hurt. And then this is like another 10% reduction on gaining your ult back. So you just don't want 2 of them, but they're manageable if you're okay with that. Poison buildup when below max HP, rot buildup when below max HP. That can get really annoying. It will cause you to use way more flasks than normal, but on squishier characters and stuff, you're going to be max HP anyway. So I run that on some stuff. I don't run that on like Libra just in case it's Everdark and it's a longer fight. Okay, some ones that are completely free. Lower attack when below max HP. That doesn't apply unless you're like less than 85% health, so it's not exactly what it says it is, but that's pretty good. Usually you're above 85% health. Reduce damage negation for flask usages. You shouldn't be using flasks while you're about to get hit anyway, so that one's free. Taking damage causes poison, rot, blood, frost buildup. Those are all really manageable. For whatever reason, sometimes the frost, when it procs, it doesn't even do damage to you because something with the latency of the game, like you get hit, it registers the damage from the hit on your character, but it doesn't actually apply the frost damage. You just get the frost effect, which is a damage, a defense debuff. But these are all pretty good, except against specific Night Lords. Like, you don't want to run poison against Pest. You don't want to run frost against Caligo. The sleep and madness buildup, those are situational because they keep you locked in place and can cause you to go down if you're in a bad situation. I wouldn't run these on any bosses that do a lot of tick damage like Pest or Caligo again, so just be careful about that. And then the negative stat changing relics. As long as you're not using a weapon or a build with that class, it won't really have that big of an effect. The issue with these is that if you are running like a colossal with reduced strength, it will be like a 1.5 to 3% damage reduction, and that multiplies across your relics and with your attack up, so it can actually be like a substantial DPS decrease. I still run stuff if I need to put things on my relic that have these debuffs. Like I have this Wilder build. It's a DPS fist, and the bad thing is it has reduced strength and reduced dex, which fists scale off of. So I do like 6 to 10% less damage during a match with these on, which hurts, but I need the partial HP, and I'm just trying to counteract that with the physical attack +3. So you got to find a happy middle ground with these kinds of things. And when you're implementing this stuff into a build, you notice like on this fist build, I don't have taking damage causes a lot of status buildup, madness or sleep and stuff, because I'm going to be taking hits being up front and DPS. If I was like on a Halo Scythe build and stuff, I wouldn't mind taking the sleep or the madness buildup because I'm not going to be in the center of the fight. I'm going to be on the outside spamming the weapon art. So it's just something to think about. Your gameplay style will affect how bad these individual things are. This lower attack when below max HP, that's usually pretty bad when you're on fists because, again, you're taking damage and hits and stuff. But I actually have some really good HP regain on this, and usually that's not too much of an issue. So yeah, that's just a general overview of buffs and debuffs. I had a few people asking about this on my relic build videos and stuff, and I figured this would be just something good to throw out there, give everybody kind of a general idea. You know, there's spreadsheets with real numbers and stuff, but I covered the basics and really just the important things. So, all right, guys, I'll see you.